Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, good news for Carnival passengers. We have some good news of what's been installed on 11 of their ships so far. We had a Princess cruise ship ended up having to cancel one of her ports because of protests. We also have word of a celebrity cruise ship that's going to be changing one of her itineraries and ports of call, and you know what? It's a good time to change. How often do you hear that? When it's good news that they're changing the itinerary. Our first story is the Regal Princess, which I was just on about a month ago. It was sailing through the UK and it decided to skip the port of Dorset because of ongoing protests in that port about the plan to house migrants in cruise ships at the dock. There's protests on both sides going on, protests, counter-protests, and Princess just said, you know what, let's not bring our passengers there. They decided to just take another day at sea instead of heading to Dorset. However, on the flip side of that, Norwegian Dawn sailed into Dorset and I guess was not bothered by the protests. They figured it was not going to be a danger to the actual cruise ship passengers. So apparently people had a good day. So it just depends on which cruise line you were on, whether or not you were going to get into Dorset because of protests. We also have the Carnival Cruise Line. John Heald has come out and said, guess what? We now have 11 ships equipped with Starlink internet. Now, just to give you an idea, the difference between Starlink internet and the traditional high orbit internet that's normally out on cruise ships, at least that have been in the past. My past experiences on some cruise ships, I would do a speed test on your internet, and my download speeds, which means if you're streaming, say Netflix or something, trying to get into your email, was around 5 to 6 megabytes per second. And if you were trying to upload something to the internet or to another computer, I was getting speeds of 0.5 megabytes per second. They're now saying that with the new Starlink, you will get between 200 and 300 megabytes per second in the download, which means you should not have any interruptions and that swirly bar when you're trying to stream something on YouTube, or if you're trying to watch Netflix when you're on a cruise ship on a sea day and just relaxing in your room. Also, upload speeds are supposed to be between 20 and 40 megabytes per second, which, if you calculate, is 40 to 80 times faster than the speeds I was getting before. Which is, as you can see, when I work on a cruise ship and I have to put videos out when I'm on a cruise ship or try and live stream, you can see why I'm excited that Starlink is coming to many, many cruise lines now. The cruise ships that have gotten it already, 11 of them, we have the Mardi Gras, the Celebration, the Panorama, the Elation, the Sunrise, the Valor, the Vienza, the Pride, the Magic, the Sunshine, and finally the Carnival Vista. 11 ships, and they are trying to bring them to the rest of the fleet as quickly as possible. So that's pretty good news. I'm excited to have as many with Starlink as possible. My only concern is just because you get that speed and you can accomplish that speed doesn't mean the cruise lines are going to set the speed, because they can dial it to a maximum. They can dial your internet to a maximum of 10 megabytes per second download if they wanted to keep the bandwidth down, to keep the cost down for themselves, which is why a lot of the times when you pull into a cruise port, you'll actually see your internet speeds go down instead of up. You would think closer to land, closer to a signal, closer to everything, you would get better Wi-Fi and better internet. Often, they turn it down when you arrive in port because most people get off the ship and aren't using the Wi-Fi on the ship. So they can turn it down and save money that way. I have noticed that many, many times, and it is frustrating because that tends to be when I try and do my work on the cruise ships. sigh. But good news, hopefully Starlink will solve a lot of those problems for a lot of people who need to work or just communicate with friends and family and FaceTime and stuff like that on the cruise ship. We also have Celebrity Cruise Line has come out and said, you know what, we're changing our itineraries and times in port. And everyone, normally when you hear that, the first thing you think is, great, we're skipping a port, or they're taking time away from the port because of issues with the engine or something along those lines. In this case, there is a cruise going to Japan on the Celebrity Millennium. Now, if you follow this channel, you know just before the pandemic, I took the Celebrity Millennium from Vancouver, Canada to Japan. It was amazing. We stopped in Sitka, Alaska. We got to head down the coast through the Bering Sea. It was one of my favorite cruises I've ever taken. It had great ports of call when we got to Japan, and I had a great time on the ship. One of my favorite cruises. So when I heard the Celebrity Millennium has this Best of Japan cruise, I got very interested. I'm going to keep an eye on that. But now it's even more interesting because they are changing the times in port. Not for the worse. They're actually making you arrive more during the times when the places are open at the cities you're visiting. So if you were to arrive at 4 a.m. and what are you going to do until 9 when all the stores or the events that you're going to open? You got a 4-hour window where nothing's doing. So now you'll arrive at 8 and spend longer time in the cruise port as well. They're not shortening the time. They're expanding the time, in fact, even longer. So you will be able to stay and visit the sights of Japan even longer. Terrific. Good job, Celebrity. The more you can spend in an itinerary like Japan or Australia, someplace, if you live in North America, that you don't go to very often, that it's not an everyday, we all go to the Caribbean. Many of us have been in the Caribbean dozens and dozens of times, been there, done that. But when you go to a rare opportunity location like Japan, Australia, Antarctica, the Galapagos Islands, things like that, you want to spend as much time in the destination as possible. And I highly hope cruise lines do this all over the place. But good job for Celebrity on the Millennium doing exactly that. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.